Welcome, everybody, to the One Lane Road podcast. This is Lucas.
Hey, guys, it's Dustin. We're joined this week by a special guest, Mr. John Denton.
Mr. John Denton, my high school basketball coach. Dustin's for a little while. You got to coach Dustin, what, 2 years probably?
Yeah, it's 2 years.
Yeah.
1 year for me.
Yeah. John, you come in. You was my high school basketball coach, and Rob. We talked to him the other day, and we had a lot to talk about with him. I'd really never talked to the guy, and really didn't have anything to talk to about him because I don't remember much about basketball. And as you can attest to most people, I wasn't very good either.
Well, you were the meat and potatoes guy. You're the guy who got us rebounds and things like that, and played defense, and
the guy that tried to get out of the way whenever he didn't know what was going on.
Right, but you're a great team player.
Well, I always tried to be it. That's about as far as it went.
Yeah,
I was there for the team. That was about as good as I could do.
He didn't inherit a very good, talented team when he came in. It was a lot of. Don Asbury's always said we were a group of small forwards and centers. They didn't have a ball handler. We had a couple shooters, but. Well,
that's true. If we'd had a point guard, I think we'd been a lot more successful. But as time went along, the guys started improving. I think if we could have had everybody back another year, it would have been a lot different.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember or not. I actually didn't get to play the last half of my senior year. Carlos Spivey took a knee to my thigh and set me out.
I remember you got a severe bruise in your thigh and had missed quite a few games.
Yeah. And then he got me again right after I come back.
I guess I'd give Carlos a Casey Hagan.
I couldn't. He done whipped my butt twice. I wasn't about to get him again.
First time I thought about Carlos in about 14 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how did y'all do that last year? I didn't come to a lot of.
We probably didn't even make it to the tournament that year, did we?
Well, everybody makes it to the tournament.
I don't know if we did.
We did. We ended up winning 3 games. It was disappointing. Like I said, Lucas missed some time. Just seemed like kind of things went against us. But
it was fun.
It was fun.
It was a good time, right?
It was a good time.
Yeah. Those are the things I look back on, how much fun that was. There's a lot to be said about being on a team like that when you're young, regardless how good it is.
Right. And, and I always look back. I think there's things I could have done different. We could have been more successful if I had done things differently, and things I should have done or could have done. And
so, hindsight's 20/20 all the time.
Right? That's been, like I said, 15 years ago, and I still think about that to this day. Both Dustin's senior year, we lost quite a few close games that year. We lost a couple in overtime. We lost a couple on last second shots.
I remember I think it was Gordonsville. I think beat us at the buzzer down there.
And
and you're saying doing things differently. I think all of us, and I think we were a lot of petty stuff you deal with high schoolers, and I know several times if I could take 17-year-old me and shake the heck out of him, I would. An 18-year-old me, and a lot of us kind of just. I think by the time we got to my senior year, there was a couple that just burnt out. Their hearts wasn't in it,
right? And
then there was, like I said, there's petty bickering back and forth, and we all grew up and we're still best buddies now. We look back and like, man, I never will forget how bad I felt we'd got blown out at home. I don't remember who we'd played. Earl Holcomb walked by the bench, and Earl had been supporting us. I remember we won tournaments, and we were in 8th grade. He was 7th grade. And Earl said, "This is the most wasted talent I've ever seen on a basketball team."
Oof.
That hurts, when a man that comes to every ball game tells you that. And, looking back, and that season we all sat out, and I said this in a game, talking to Rob. You look at the schedule, you always want to win 3 games. Salina, Red Bull, and Homecoming. And that's all we won.
Yeah.
But
we did, I look back at, it's a long season. The season was long, and we weren't as successful. But, like you said, some of your goals, you couldn't beat those 3 wins,
Yeah, those were big at that point in time.
And, of course, that's what I was telling Dustin a few minutes ago. We were talking, about y'all interviewing Rob, and I was giving Rob a hard, I was saying, man, I can't believe them boys interviewed you before they interviewed me. Of course, I was just kidding around.
Oh, yeah.
But me and him got to talking, and just like you was talking about, Dustin's senior year and your junior year, we beat Salina over there, and that was actually the last time we beat Salina.
Yep.
And
I was glad to point that out.
Yeah, and Rob was talking about how he remembered that game, and he was talking about a couple plays, and I'm like, well, I don't remember that.
Yeah,
I just know we beat you. It was a good game, and but then turn around your senior year.
Yeah,
I was saying, I said I remember that game more specific plays. I said I can remember we ran a high-low slide And when the ball get kicked to the key, our wingman was supposed to make that backdoor cut. And I said, all year long, because this game's towards the end of the year, I said, we hadn't run that play right all year long. And I said, ball gets kicked into we're down, I think we're down 3. And the ball gets kicked to the high post. You or Brent won. I don't remember exactly who threw the pass, but Kelby made the great textbook backdoor cut. We hit him. He goes in, and a boy from Salina slid under him, and Kelby makes the layup. And I'm thinking, it's a 3-point play.
Yeah.
Well, they call him for a charge. And I did stand up. I was still standing in the coaching box. And anyway, they teed me up.
Yeah.
And so anyway, they wipe the basket off. They go to the other end. They shoot 2 free throws, make that. Man. So it's down 5. They get the ball back, kick it in. The very first inbounds play, they shoot a 3 and hit a 3. So it went from being possibly a tie ball game to us being down 8.
Yeah.
And that's as close as we were the rest of the game. We ended up getting beat 12 or something.
Right.
And so, I'm sitting there telling those plays to Rob. Rob, like, I don't remember that. I remember we won that game.
Yeah.
And so I said, it was kind of funny. The year before, I couldn't tell you one play that helped us win that game, but Rob's sitting there telling me all the plays that cost him the game. And then the next year, I'm sitting here telling him plays that I feel like cost us a game, and he's like, I don't remember that.
Right.
So we were just kind of comparing notes on that.
He had studied the book a lot. He was telling us stats, and he was.
I couldn't remember any of that stuff. And what's weird about it is you're being in the time. You're so emotional, and you're tied up, and a lot of it has to do with like what Dustin was saying about being really young. But you're so tied up in the emotion of the game. You looking back, it's just so hard to remember key moments,
Right.
and it's. I remember things like Roy Frog did. He did something one of the craziest things I'd ever seen. And I remember I come back over to you on the sideline. You told me, said, Lucas, you can't do anything about that. If he's going to hit that, he's going to hit anything.
Right.
And he had jumped out of bounds, and he was jumping out of bounds behind the goal and flipped the ball around and hit it. And you told me, said, you can't do anything about that. What are you going to do with that?
And things like that. There's times, people play good defense. The other player just makes a great play.
That's right.
And there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, so all you can do is try your best. And, and I don't feel like I ever fussed at a kid for trying to play defense and somebody making a great play. Now,
right.
If you're not nowhere around and the guy's shooting wide open shots, I want to fuss about that.
Yeah.
That one at home, my senior year really stings because I think we were up. I told Rob, I don't know what you said to those boys at halftime, but I asked Adam Sims, and I said, I can't repeat on this podcast what you said. And I said, I think we were up like 13-14 at halftime. We were hitting threes. We were hot, probably got a little big-headed at halftime thinking, they can't beat us. Then that going back to not having a point guard really hurt us because I remember they started pressing with some of those quicker, younger guys they had that weren't really established on their roster yet. And I think they were probably sophomores, a lot of those P. Ridge boys. And, they really – coming back, you're looking at you're at the foul line and going, how did this go from a 14-point lead to down 12?
Right.
It just completely killed us.
Having Jeremy and AJ all those years, that really, I'm not going to say it hurt us because obviously those were great point guards, but, we were so reliant upon them.
Well, I mean, you take like AJ, if I'm not mistaken, started 4 years.
Right.
And he was one of the primary ball handlers. And, Jeremy played quite a bit. So you're looking at nobody really had gotten any experience. And so, in like other guys in Dustin's class, they got a year's worth of experience, but it was over with.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right. And then we were sitting out there, and it had. Oh man, I guess Chris was our ball handler that year,
right?
And
we kind of followed up. I mean, those other guys got some playing time, but still, we.
I believe Andrew Hall was coming up quite a bit that year,
and he come on, and same thing there. He come on towards the end of the year and was playing well.
Yeah.
And it happened both years. Everybody starts gelling at the end of the year, but then you start losing those seniors and guys who didn't have,
Yeah. And it's really, again, it's hindsight's 20/20, and you don't. It's really hard to do it, but really at that point in time, you should be playing your juniors so that they.
Right.
But you don't want to take your seniors out, right?
Yeah. And if you remember your senior year, we only had 10 players.
Yeah.
That was going from years. Or like when I know you boys were younger, there was quite. I mean. there was probably
14.
15, 18 guys on the team.
Yeah.
And then, your senior year, we only had 10.
Yeah.
And so that makes it difficult, too.
And there was only 4 seniors. 6 of them were juniors that year.
Yeah, I mean, we had 3 freshmen.
Yeah.
And the rest were juniors and seniors.
Yeah.
So it was hard.
Yeah, it was a long time. But
I always I started running around some of those younger Salina guys over the years, and they always give us the hard time. They're like, oh, Hermitage Springs this, Hermitage Springs that. Like, you boys don't even have a sound system. Y'all carried a boombox on your shoulder down there. And I said, hey, we beat y'all my senior year, and it was the last team ever do it. Oh, y'all didn't beat anything. I said, you better go read the Citizen Statesman.
They need to go back and check. Like I said, and Coach Edwards remembered it, so they can always go back and talk to Coach.
And really, I mean, I don't remember. I think the one in Salina we actually won, it was a big dose of Brent and maybe Lucas that night because I think James had just quit. Elliott was sick.
Yeah.
I was like 0 for 42 that game. I was like, it was awful. You're so pumped to play somebody.
Yeah,
I remember I hit like 4 free throws in that last minute because you come over and like shook me and scared me to death. Like you was like, "Come on, baby, you can do it. You can do it." And Rob was like, I remember Rob being on here. He's like, Dustin had a pretty good out in that first time. He hit some threes. That first one we lost, hit some threes. He's like, then pretty solid was what did he say? So and so 5 or so from the free throw line. I was like, well, I sucked, but I hit some foul shots. What you're trying to say? He's trying to be nice and saying that.
Yeah.
But that's
and that's the thing too. That's the difference in lots of ball games too. You go back and look at some of our ball games. We just struggled at the foul line.
Yeah.
I always, you guys may or may not remember. I think I always told you guys we need to shoot 70% from the foul line to give us a chance to overcome because we weren't good ball handlers.
Right.
No.
And to give us a chance at the end of the game, we had to take opportunities at the foul line, and we struggled.
I mean, whenever you're down by 6, but you miss 9 free throws.
Right.
I mean, that's a hard pill to swallow right there.
It is.
But I had the Shaq problem. I get up earning that goal, get so little when I got to the free throw line.
That's the last Shaq comment we need to make for the night. If you don't care, big Hall of Famer.
That's right.
But and like I said, I go back and look at things, and I feel like if I could go back and do it again, there would be some things I'd do different, and hopefully we'd be more successful. And
well, a lot of that was us too, and I always felt bad for Brent, or as I've gotten older, I felt bad for Brent for not having a better team around him, and for us not being able to get better around him, because he had so.
I
so
still
much
telling
talent.
him throwing the ball into him was like going to the Bermuda Triangle. It never came back out.
Yeah. I always felt like if we'd have been a little bit better, he'd have had a little bit more chance to go somewhere.
True, and that also goes to with everybody. Everybody need to have more confidence in everybody, and like you said, if Brent too need to realize the game. If he's getting triple team, he does need to kick it out,
Right.
And those kind of things. And it's hard though sometimes when you're so dependent on somebody.
Yeah.
And we was dependent on Brent.
Yeah.
And,
But I don't know why I've got a man crush on Brent today. I guess I have it quite a bit, but it's
getting creepy.
Yeah, it is getting creepy. It was always, if you don't know what to do with the ball, just give it to Brent, and he'll figure it out. Because, and it wasn't just because, he was taller than everybody or whatever. He really studied the game too.
Right.
He knew a lot about it. So he was kind of further than the rest of us because he didn't have more opportunities. He'd taken more opportunities to go and learn about the game in other places too. So that was always a safe bet for us. Throw it to Brent. Let's see what he'll do.
Right.
Get in a different position and run out somewhere.
Well, I think it come down to lack of experience. Like I said, like Mr. John said, we had a little bit lack of experience coming up from playing from deeper rosters. It was harder to kind of break that sometimes. Then when you get in high school, you kind of find other pastimes that you get into.
You take when you're a freshman and sophomore, you're not getting to play, or you're playing a lot of JV. And JV's good for experience, but at the same time, it's not like game situations because they don't keep fouls and things like that. So
the crowd's a little different.
The crowds, you got 5 people in the stands, and so you get some valuable experience, but still it's not like game experience. And then, like you said, then when you're a junior, senior, you're getting to drive. Maybe you're dating because you can drive, whereas before you weren't because you couldn't. And all those things factor in. Some kids get a job and because they have a car.
And one of the guys that was coming up behind us that I always had a lot of expectations for, and was Jesse Cherry. And my expectations for him is I just always wanted him to windmill on somebody. I just wanted him to dunk all over somebody. I don't know if he ever got the opportunity as a senior, but I didn't never see it.
I don't think so, but he had the potential.
He was always fun to watch.
Yeah.
Now, something I always remember, and I don't remember if you remember or not, Cliff Smith.
Cliff.
We was at Macon County, and you remember Brewer. What's
Corey Brewer.
You remember Corey Brewer?
Yeah.
Who'd have thought he'd have been an NBA player, really?
Yeah.
I don't know. We look back and everybody was, and I think it was when Dustin was a senior too. I don't know. That may be the year you're talking about.
Yeah, it is.
Played him at Lafayette.
We played him. We actually played him both years.
Okay.
We played him your senior year, and they were, of course,
Big John, and then Adam Black and Corey Brewer were all out there. So,
yeah, they had a big team, and then everybody's talking about Brewer, and they was talking about how many you dunk on us. He didn't dunk any on us that year,
right?
But go ahead, and then I'll tell my side of that story.
So Cliff was the only one on the team fast enough to keep up with Corey at this point in time. And so we was sitting there, and I'd come out. I'd done something real stupid, I'm sure. And then because I tell you what had happened was Big John was down there, and I couldn't score on him. I couldn't do anything with him. And he told me at one point in time, he said, if you just try a little harder and try this next time, you'll probably wind up scoring. I thought, I'd had it in my head, and I thought, well, I'm going to try that. Well, he set me up to block me is what he did. He blocked the crap out of me. So I come over there, and from what I remember, you told Cliff, don't let him dunk on us. Don't let him do some of this crazy stuff because he was fading out to half court.
Right.
And so they outlet pass to Corey. Corey takes off down through there. He gets wound up to either do a 360 or a windmill or something, and Cliff spears him from about the foul line, wraps him up. And then Cliff comes running back over and was so happy. He just had this look of, did I do a good job? And you just had this look of, just sit down, Cliff. Just sit down.
Yeah. Like you said, Cliff's about the only one fast enough to keep up with him. And but also, that was the thing. They was trying, and the same thing, I think they didn't press us full court. They just trapped us half court.
Yeah.
And so they were up, at halftime, and then when they come back out in the second half, they put Brewer on the top of a 1-3-1, trying to get some tip balls and breakouts. And so what I called a timeout, and I had a huddle, and I said, we're going to run pick and roll because I had Brewer out. They may have just had him man-to-man, I guess, but they had him guarding our point guard. And like we already talked, we was weak at point guard, so they was trying to get a couple dunks because he hadn't dunked one. And I called timeout, and I said, we're going to run pick and roll, every trip down until they take Brewer out of the game because they were up like 35 trying to get a dunk. And I said, Lucas is going to set her pick because, you were like we talked about earlier. You were our garbage man, and you were a little bit more physical than Brent.
Right.
Brent was big, but he was kind of finesse player. You were our dirty man.
That's right.
So I said, Lucas, when he comes on that pick, you jack him up. And they hadn't been calling much all night. I think Darren had been fouled a couple times pretty hard, and they hadn't called anything. Anyway, so on that first pick, he comes off there. You hit him pretty good with the shoulder. And they didn't call anything, and I don't even remember what the play happened, but then the next time down, they're coming on the pick and roll, and you got away with the shoulder this time. You just hit him with an elbow right in the square in the chest.
Yeah, I remember that.
You just jacked him up, and he starts going, come on, man, what's going on?
Yeah, I remember that.
And I'm just like, over keep it up, fellas. I mean, if they're going to try to get some dunks on us and embarrass us, we're going to. They took him out after that elbow you give him to the chest.
I remember that now.
Just watched a 30 for 30 on him just the other night.
On Brewer?
Oh, well, on the Florida team, the back-to-back champions they had.
Yeah. Well, that was so odd. I hadn't thought of Corey Brewer in years, and then all of a sudden I seen him on Minnesota Timberwolves on CBS. And he just won an NBA championship. I thought, well, that's the most odd thing that ever happened to me,
Yeah, and so I mean, that's interesting. Like you said, we might not have been successful, but we had some fun stories. And you played against a future NBA player, and I mean he's been in the NBA now a number of years and a two-time national champion in college. So, like I said, I wouldn't have really thought that from him playing against him and what we saw of him in that tournament.
He got a lot better after high school because which I'm sure he wasn't out there just giving us his all at that point in time. But like you say, he just wasn't that impressive. I was more impressed with their two post players. Big John and Adam Black.
That one guy like he's talking about. I mean, he was like 6'6" and just all muscle.
Oh, and he could almost touch the rim standing flat footed. He was just a monster. And I wound up going to school with Adam later on, went to college with him, and seen him quite a bit. And I think John might have went and played some some not minor league, but some
Junior college.
Yeah, junior college ball or something like that. But he never did go much else after
Right.
that. And then I always thought, man, he was so much better than Corey. I don't know why he's not.
Well, and see, I used to, I know some people taught down at Smith County, and I'd go down there every now and then to some high school football games.
Yeah.
And Brewer actually played high school football.
Really?
And that may be one reason why he maybe developed a little bit more as a basketball, but between his junior and senior year, he I guess had went to a basketball camp and missed some football stuff. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if they kicked him off the team or he was going to he got punished. I don't know what the full story
Some
was,
punitive thing.
but he ended up quitting, and a bunch of the other players quit because
he'd quit.
He quit, and so maybe some of it boiled down to as he got a little bit, he focused more on basketball. Yeah. But I know he played football up to his junior year in high school as well.
Well, that was something else I was going to say. We always we were such a small school, and as we got older, we had a baseball team and a basketball team, and we were. It wasn't that we were particularly good at baseball, but you have a little school pride, and you want to see those teams continue on. So you want to try to play baseball.
Sure.
You want to try to play basketball. You want to try to do FFA stuff, and
right.
so on and so forth. And that really does spread your attention. If you're focusing on one thing, then you're going to get better at that one thing. But if you're trying to spread your time around, you're just not going to develop your potential.
It's hard.
Yeah, that's right.
I was
not that I was ever good at any of them, but I was pretty good at FFA, but that's about it.
Yeah.
I was thinking some pretty funny stories earlier. When we first started talking about it, one I remember. And we always got along pretty well. I mean, we had our moments every now and then where you, like I said, being a little punk kid and just having, whatever. And I do remember one time running in practice, and I don't know if you'll remember this. We were running a 3-man weave, and I was about third person in line, and Elliot Brown come, and he was finishing the drill. And Elliot's been the same size since he was like 7,
Yeah.
And he takes that one step forward with the pass, and he's kicking it about right here, and I see it out of the corner of my eye. And why it's coming towards me, I don't know, because I'm third person in line, fourth, and I'm running my mouth probably to Chris Boone or whoever. And the last thing I just see is ball barreling into my stomach. And I barreled down and said, GD, Elliot. And you stop, and he's like, boys, I know in this sport we're going to have some cuss words every now and then, but I do not I will not take using the Lord's name in vain. Yeah. And I understood that.
Yeah.
But being 17-year-old me, 18, whatever, I was still, when I got my breath, I went, you tried taking a ball in the stomach by Elliot Brown. So that was all it took. We was on that line and running for a while for that one. Do you remember that at all?
Well, I probably remember a few back talks there.
It did hurt. I mean, a lot.
I got the whole team running once too. I don't know if you remember it or not, but you ask a rhetorical question, and me being 16 or 17 at the time, didn't understand it was rhetorical at that point in time. I tried to answer you, and then I said, you started talking again. I said, well, if you just shut up, I'd tell you. And I thought, and then you went, blew the whistle. Everybody got on the line. I said, that was my bad. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. That was totally my fault.
Yeah.
I just remember that because Elliot was such a monster. I mean,
he was. And
he was like the king of the three-point play, too.
Oh, he was, yeah.
He couldn't hit the foul shot.
No, he couldn't hit the foul shot, but he'd get them, though. But it goes back, I think it was that Gordonsville game. You was talking about remembering stuff, funny story. They had, Gordonsville had the ball, I believe it was, like I said, the Gordonsville game. Anyway, they ran, you were on the ball, and they ran a pick kind of out above the top of the key. Anyway, and it's kind of a blindside pick. Whoever's man was setting the pick didn't communicate. Mm-hmm. And it's like you ran into a brick wall, And I think the guy may even elbowed you, too, a little something and knocked you down.
Yeah.
And the funny thing was they called the foul on you.
Yeah. that was on my list, too.
Yeah.
That was Hartsville.
Oh, it's at Hartsville. Okay.
As a big brother coming through.
And
you're exactly right on that play, though.
Yeah.
Exactly what happened.
And of course, we fussed, at that moment in time, it wasn't funny because it was a difference in the ball game. It was an important play because it should have been a foul on him instead of you. But I remember the next day we watched film and I showed it to the whole team. And I'm like, well, let's watch Dustin foul this guy again. Yeah. And the foul includes you laying on the floor.
Yeah. I think if we had done the concussion protocol back then, I would not have been back in the game. I was silly when I got up.
Yeah.
And that's funny you brought that up because I had that written down also. That you called me out like in practice. Well, Well, hold on a minute. We'll see it from another.
Yeah.
Hold on a minute.
Yeah.
I think you rewound it like 4
Yeah,
times.
we did. We watched it. We didn't watch it once. We watched it multiple times.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, somebody didn't call it out, and I mean, dude was like, I mean, he felt like he was huge.
Yeah. He just
like Charles Oakley running into me, and I got up and I was like getting ready to run the inbound play, and everybody else was going this way.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell what happened right here? And the same play, I'm pretty positive, is when James had got tripped by the 3-point line. You played that one over.
Yeah. So
I don't know if he was flopping before LeBron came along.
Yeah. So we put film session to good use that day.
That was a good. The film session was always fun. I always enjoyed that. That was a good time.
Yeah. Well, you didn't have a concussion laying on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talking about me being hard on the guy from Portland that time. I remember another time up in we was in Macon County in the little gym. I don't remember what the little gym was, but Chris Boone, and this may have been younger. I don't know. Anyway, Chris Boone was, I mean, just getting wore out by somebody. They was just wearing him out. And so me and Duffer set the kid up for him to run around Duffer and for me to catch him in the face. And I mean, I laid him out, with the face. And I remember I got took out of the game. And I don't remember if it was you or if I was playing for Donnie Cherry at that point in time. But one of them come over and said, "Now I understand what you're trying to do, but you're going to kill somebody. You got to sit down." I was always a lot better at taking up for people than I was at running actual plays.
Right.
We all went to me and Kelby and Jesse and Brent all went up to UT and played some one of those camps.
Yeah, we went to. I remember y'all went to Buzz Peterson's individual camp.
That's right, and we come back from that and. We was all a little bit better at that point in time. But that was just so much fun. But I don't know. I never could take those skills and pass them along and make them get on the court. You know what I mean? I was always good in practice, but not in participation.
I always thought if I was as good as I was on an 8-foot goal.
If I could have
dunked, some NBA 2K.
If I could have dunked on that 7-foot goal outside every time, I'd have killed him.
Yeah.
Well, but anyway.
Y'all probably practiced a little bit too much on that goal.
On that 7-foot goal outside.
I blame that on Vince Carter.
Because by the time y'all would have been in was about the time he was winning the dunk contest.
That's right. We was playing NBA Jam Tournament Edition all the time.
Yeah.
If I couldn't stick my arm in the rim, I wasn't about to do anything.
Right.
Yeah.
So you graduated. Let's see. Actually, we go back. I was your kindergarten attendant. You remember that? I was your little. I was the kid. Not to date you at all.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting there.
We all are. Me and Keely were with you and Scarlett. I don't know if Scarlett listens. No, Don listens. So there you go, Scarlett. But so you've seen many years. Earlier than you, of course. Who's probably the best athlete? Not best player, but probably. Best
just
athlete.
all-around athlete that you ever saw come through
Hermitage Springs.
Well, really, both sides now.
Well,
you've had some time.
First part, Hermitage Springs.
Yeah.
Well, that's tough.
There were some good athletes come out of there. Derek Anderson come out of there. AJ obviously come out of there. Can't leave Brad Crackhead out.
Yeah.
If Brad would have cared this much, just as good as AJ.
Well, that's one of those things. If like you said, if Brad put into it what AJ did, Brad very easily could have been the best athlete because he was.
He was actually, I think, just almost this much of a better defender sometimes than AJ.
Yeah, he was smooth at basketball and he was smooth at baseball.
He was just smooth in general.
Yeah, like you said, he'd probably tell you today he probably didn't give 100%.
Yeah,
right. He's told me that 15 years.
Yeah. I don't know, man. That's tough. I honestly couldn't say. I guess I wasn't expecting it, so I just can't think straight.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, what about from both sides? Now that you've been over to Salina for a little while, if you throw that in the mix, what would you say? Tyreek's got Tyreek's a hell of an athlete. I don't know if he plays any other sports.
I don't think he does. That figures in.
Yeah, it does.
And, of course, I'm going, you can sit there, what it boils down to, probably like the best all-around athlete I probably seen would have probably been Brian Burchett. I mean, he was about the same time. I mean, and he played all three sports. He played football, basketball, and baseball.
I've heard that a lot, and he was a monster on the football field.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And,
and these kids are coming back around because I do a lot of the announcing for Jackson County Youth Football, and I've been involved in all the youth sports. And I know I was getting pretty sick of saying Burchett and Adams.
Yeah.
Last year it was like touchdown Adams to Adams.
Yeah, of course, all their kids are, growing up now.
Yeah.
He was a generally all-around athlete. That's what I say. That's just me personally. I mean, there's other people that stood out in basketball. Some other ones stood out in football.
Right.
But from my perspective, what I seen playing all three sports, he would be it.
Yeah.
And of course, like I said, that was my time frame. I played against him in basketball and baseball, and I did go to probably a few more football games then than I.
Right.
Like I said, individually, I've seen some other great basketball players. I've seen other great football players. And that's what I was trying to remember. Like at Hermitage Springs, I was trying to just think of. Nobody's really standing out that I can remember who was just really, really good on the basketball court and who was really, really good on the baseball field. I'm just drawing a blank.
Yeah.
Years ago, the numbers, and I'm not blaming it on the kids. Some of it was just society.
Right.
Years ago, there was 25 kids go out for baseball at Hermitage Springs.
Yeah.
And, by the time I started coaching, I mean, I was lucky to have 12.
Right.
And there's something to be about competition. If there's only 12 kids on the team, 9 people's going to start. They ain't got to worry about the position too good. But when you got 25,
you got to worry about whether you make it get a uniform, right?
You got to put out.
Yeah,
it makes me laugh because I think of Jeremy Hammer always taking a picture for the yearbook that he was on the baseball team. Never played.
And
that's hilarious. I didn't know that.
and we'll go back kind of again my time. Just kind of think a little bit. Randy Carnahan stands out. Mm-hmm. Randy Carnahan was a good basketball player and a good baseball player. Okay. I don't know if y'all know Randy or not.
Well,
I know of him.
I say I know the name, and I can't believe I just went blank. Our assistant coach,
Larry,
yeah. Did Larry go to Hermitage Springs or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he was always a good basketball player.
And I know he played baseball too. Like I said, that baseball time. I can remember the basketball a little bit more because I saw him more.
He's about 9 or 10 years older than you, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but we went to a lot of basketball games then. I might have seen 2 baseball games at the same time frame where I saw lots because my mom and dad, we went to a lot of the basketball games at that time.
Yeah. Well, what about you're over in Salina now?
You're in Hermitage Springs, aren't you?
Yeah, I've moved back. I'm at Hermitage Springs
really?
now.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry. What I was going to say was the
big dog.
Yeah,
over there.
How did you feel about the how did the transition go? What was your view of the transition whenever all the kids went over there? How did you was coming from Hermitage Springs going over there, and you did go at that point in time, didn't you?
Well, I went to the central office for a couple years.
Okay.
So I was. They consolidated in 2007, so the students started over there in the fall of 2007, and I went to the central office and worked out of the central office for 2 years. But they did ask me to do, since I was in the central office, there would be things they would say, "Hey, look, we want you to go over there. The kids know you.
Right?
Would you go over there and spend the day over there?" So there was a few things I did at the beginning of school, and then throughout the year, they'd ask me to go over there just because I knew the kids. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things, I know there's still hard feelings with grown-ups.
With some people, yeah.
And, and I understand that. I mean, it hurt me to see the school closed. Mm-hmm. But like lots of things with kids adjust well. I think for the kids, it's been a great opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm like anybody else. I hate to see our high school not there, but at the same time, I think the kids have done well. They all accept each other.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
kids are a lot more resilient than what us as adults are.
We'll get a little more stuck in our ways as adults.
Yeah.
And that goes back to what you're saying about us dwindling numbers as we were getting on teams and stuff.
Right.
We were losing that competition as we go to where then they can move over there and they can push themselves a little bit more.
But does it surprise you, and I've noticed throughout the years keeping up with it a little bit, is it just surprised you up until recently when there's some kids on? There wasn't a lot of Hermitage Springs kids on those teams.
No, it's picked up the last few years.
Right.
And from my perspective, I would still like to see some be more prominent in football, and I don't know why that's not happening. I just don't know if I know when I was in school, I would have, I wanted to play football, and
Right.
you know, we couldn't, and it's probably the same way with you guys.
Yeah,
Some of you
right.
guys would have liked to have played, and the opportunity just wasn't there. But basketball, you know, we've had a number of boys and girls both who have started over there in basketball, and then we've had kids to play in baseball, you know, and a few softball, not many softball. So the opportunity's there, you know, and I honestly believe the majority of the coaches, if you're good enough to play, you're going to play.
Right. Well,
you know, and so it's not that you know, I don't think nobody sit out and say I'm not playing that kid because they're from the Hermitage Springs.
Right.
You would like to think that would be the
Right. I don't want to think that, and so I and from what I've seen, if the kids have the ability, they've been playing.
Yeah, and you know, when talking about football, that like you say, we didn't have that opportunity, so that's not something that's ingrained in us like it was in Salina too. So you know, as some of the people that's graduated get a little older and their kids start coming through, then we'll start seeing some more.
Probably might see more of it, and you know, and we have now, you know, they have that youth football, and some of the kids have been playing it.
Yeah.
So you may see a few more in the future.
Yeah.
But still, you know, kind of people who are from the Hermitage Springs area, there's still not that many kids who are that involved in football.
Yeah.
And
you know,
like I said, it may just be from culturally, you know, mom and dad wasn't involved around it years ago, so they just don't.
You know, I remember Daniel Hatcher they would take a bus over there of an evening or something, and they'd play football. Daniel Hatcher did that.
I think Michael Copus
did that.
There was maybe a handful.
Yeah, maybe 3 or 4 people.
Maybe our
they
sophomore
offered
junior.
that. They offered that to them as juniors and seniors or something. It kind of fizzled out because I don't think
that's when it first started, and you know, they started doing that co-op.
Yeah.
Well, they started to, you know, if a school in a county didn't offer a sport, they could go and play at another school in that county. They call it the TWSAA calls it a co-op.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's about when they started, and then the first year they did it, there was 4 or 5 interested, and then, like you said, then the numbers got down. Then there wasn't nobody doing it.
Right. And
then the last couple of years, the high school was there. You know, you had 3 to 5 kids.
Right.
You know.
Well, that's fun. No, I mean, those times are good memories. These are all good memories. You know, the thinking back through them, they're more coming to me as we're talking. You know, it's a good time. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say, I mean, like I said, there's been a lack of Hermitage Springs. I can imagine a team like you guys in the early '90s, late '80s, like the power teams that could have been, you know.
Oh yeah.
And then like more of our time, a couple years ahead of us. I really think to that 2000 year with AJ and Jeremy. If you take it back another year with Brad, you know, Salina had Matt Barlow, Chris Barlow, Dusty Smith. I mean, that could
have been a big team right there.
Right.
That's 10 deep right there.
Oh yeah.
But could they have gotten along? Because I remember, and I'm not going to, like I said, I held out the details on Rob's podcast. But I remember our sophomore year going down in that nasty basement down there in Salina, and it said Hammer blank Craghead. And we're like, okay, all right. And then I told that to Rob. He's like, well, hell, we always thought you guys put that on there. I said, no, if we said it, it would have been Melton blank Barlow. You know? And I said, no, I said there wasn't as much hostility on our end.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were always. I didn't like Red Bull, and that was the team that I really disliked. But I always remember talking to some of those guys on the foul line from Salina what we were going to be doing when we see each other next. You know,
right.
But now I think when it got the past generation, I know Brad hated those guys. I know AJ hated those guys. I don't know how well it had gelled.
Well, you know, and that's one of those things too. You don't, you know, you sit there and just look at it on the face value. You know, if we were 8 deep and pretty solid, and Salina was 8 deep and pretty solid, you're sitting there thinking, hey man, that'd been 16 guys that could play 10 deep, no problem. But then again, how the personalities go together.
Playing time, shots.
Playing time. You know, how many of those guys are going to play if they're not starting or they're not the 6th man or something. Mm-hmm. So, you know, until you put them together, you just don't know. And that's what you see.
Yeah.
You know, you hear like a lot of these bigger schools, you know, some of these AAA schools, you'll hear coaches say, well, you know, there's 5 guys walking the halls that can beat my starters.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I've known people, you know, they'll just, you know, through the time you'll be talking to somebody and they don't know the coach at Gallatin or, you know, someplace like that. And they're like, yeah, man, he's struggling down there because he's got, you know, he'll make a comment, there's 5 guys walking the halls that can beat his starters.
Right.
You know, so there's lots of different factors. You know, you'd like to think if everything would have been merry and happy and we'd had 15 great players, but at the end of the day, if that's the way it was, it might not.
I don't know. I'm not fully confident it would have went well.
Yeah.
And
Had we all grown up together, had that maybe consolidation happened with that class, say that certain class, 99, 2000, say if it had happened 3 or 4 years prior and they'd had time to get to know each other and,
right.
Maybe it'd be a different story, but I think it wouldn't have.
And it may be something, I don't know if you guys think about it as much, and you might if you stop and think about it, but I really didn't think about it when I was in school, but now when I became a coach and now, as an administrator and a teacher, you'll have, years ago, we used to have 25 kids play Pee Wee basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go to junior high. And so let's say there was 10 kids playing Pee Wee basketball in 6th grade. When they got to junior high, there were 6 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Then when they go to high school, it's down to 3.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what kind of happened over time. And I think you'd probably kind of see the same thing if everybody was together. You're still going to lose those kids from the competition standpoint.
Yeah,
I think a lot of it. I helped run that junior pro league in Jackson County the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, the parents are just. I think little Tommy doesn't want to get yelled at too hard, so mom and daddy's taking him out because my boy ain't gonna get. He's 7 years old. Why are you yelling at little Tommy like that? And you just prepare them for junior high and high school. But at the same time, the other facet of that. It's going to be harder, so you try to let them have a little fun. And that's why I try to coach those kids when I'm 6, 7. They're 6, 7, 8 years old. You try to teach them basics. But then again, you want them to have fun because when they get in junior high and high school, it's going to be
the pressure to win, and when I coached junior high, I wanted to win, but at the same time, I felt like I was preparing those kids for the future because there is more pressure to win at high school, and I was trying to prepare them. I wanted to win, but at the same time, I still think they need to learn the game of basketball to give them a better chance to win when they get older. Because sometimes in junior high, you have such varied height and differences in kids.
Yeah.
You'll have that one boy or girl who's
7 foot tall.
6'3". Well, they were 6'3" in 7th grade. They're 6'3" when they're a senior in high school.
Yeah.
But then you got those other little kids who are running around. They're 5 feet tall, and they grow up to be 6 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
So I just try to teach the game, and I don't know. And I know there was times, people thought I was too loud and things, and one thing I always try to get to everybody, I wasn't necessarily mad. I mean, I just got excited, passion, and adrenaline,
That's the way I always do.
If you weren't competitive, that's what I was saying. I wanted to win, and during the game, I'd be competitive, and sometimes I got loud. And that's what I always try to explain to kids. I'm not mad, but I'm excited.
Oh,
But you want to play harder for a coach that does show that.
That's exactly right. If you got a coach that's sitting on the sidelines that's not interested in the game, not showing any passion about the game, doesn't care about the game, then why are you going to care about the game too? And then and that may be looking back again. That may be hindsight, but that's the truth of the matter is, and you want your kids to play for somebody that's going to be passionate about it too. You don't want the coach that's just wasting their time.
And that's the thing. I'll even now as a teacher, but still when I coach, I thought the world of you guys and the kids. I want what's best for you, and so I tried to coach hard. I tried to teach you the game, and because I just wanted what was best for you. That's the way I approached it, and and like I said,
wish we could go back. That's for daggum sure.
That's for sure. I wished I would have. I wished I would have learned to dunk one time while I was in there. If you could have taught me how to dunk, that's what. That would have made all that other garbage I did.
He could have brought a trampoline in.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. We would have had to teach you to do some other things besides dunk.
Might have taught me to dribble or handle the ball or shoot a foul shot.
Well, how you liking it being the principal down here? You went to Salina, done the thing, and had to pretend to like all those people. But no, you're back home. You're principal over here. How's that? Is it a pretty cool gig?
It is. A lot. I've been asked many times which I like better, the high school or the elementary. And to be honest, I like both of them. They're different jobs. Yes, I'm the principal. I was a principal to high school. I'm the principal at Hermitage Springs. But, at one place I was dealing with, 16 to 19-year-olds. At the other, I'm dealing with 4-year-olds to 14-year-olds. There's a difference there.
Challenges each way.
Yeah, there's challenges each way. So they both have their pluses and minuses.
That testosterone hits. It's a whole different story.
Yeah, it's a whole different story. So I mean, it's nice to be back. But I'm not going to lie. I enjoyed my time at the high school, and that's what I told people. I've been at a lot of great kids. Getting to know the kids at the high school. There's a lot of good kids in this county, and you just want to see them all be successful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, what's it going to take to get since, you are kind of putting you on the spot right here, what's it going to take to put an alumni game down there for our, I know we have the one in Clay County, but it's just not the same.
Well,
what's the all Hermitage Springs alumni game?
It probably takes some interested in alumni. Maybe come down and talk to the principal.
A couple of good organizers.
I don't know if you know this, but I'm a really good general manager of these things, and I can talk. I'm promising.
He can talk. That's for sure. He can talk. He can talk.
I'm sure if we had some people come in with a well thought out plan and sit down and talk with the principal, I'm sure we probably could work that out.
That'd be pretty awesome, because I know from my general manager skills that I've recruited some guys to come play at Salina, and and I didn't want to play because Rob asked me a couple years ago. I was refereeing for him, and he says, "DK, come over and play with us, buddy." I said, "Man, I'm allergic to black and gold. I'm not putting that ugly shirt on." And I said, "They need enough purple on it for me." And I ended up playing with him, and 'cause I looked at the list and I went, okay, he's as old and fat as I am. I can guard him.
Well, I mean, like we was talking about, you start looking at it's been 9 years since the high school, so there ain't too many young and spry guys anymore. I mean, I know there's some guys 25, 26, but
I think we could. I think we would at least, because I mean, believe it or not, I've got buddies over there, but a lot of people are still a little, little. So they're like, I'm not going over there and playing. Me and James played on this very last one. William, I think, played another one. But I guarantee you, if we have it here, 20 at least. 20. We could have 20. We'll get you out there.
Yeah.
I dribbled a ball the other day in the gym. That's the first time I'd picked a ball up in probably 2 or 3 years. But no, I mean, like I said, guys, if that's something you're interested in, it's just a matter of
getting it all situated.
Getting it situated and us sitting down and talking about what's expected, for you guys, to come in and what we expect for people.
Well, we could. All the money could go to whatever you want it to be, or whatever.
Well, if that, we could just, do that. We could just donate it back to the athletics.
Oh yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. Our junior, we struggle for crowds. We don't have big crowds, and honestly, the money we take in at the gate basically pays for the referees.
Right.
And pays for the referees and the clock keeper. Mm-hmm. And if sometimes depending on if the SRO's full time or not, we have to pay sometimes for security and things like that. If it's not an SRO who's on duty, we have to pay somebody who's off duty. So, it's not like we're getting rich. So, I mean, that would be that would be good for you guys to get out there. Yeah. And that'd be, and give something to the athletics.
Well, we definitely ain't scared to get out in front of everybody. Yeah. We'll get out there. We'll get this thing started, that's for sure.
Okay, well, we're looking around at my list. I've kind of broke down some of the random thoughts I'd caught through the day here. But let's see. Well, I know you're a big UT fan.
Oh, yeah.
So I can't go without saying, well, first off, the curse from 2 weeks ago has been lifted.
Yes. I went to that game.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. That's
pretty crazy atmosphere.
Oh, yeah, man. Well, after halftime.
Yeah.
I will say, though, and that's what I've told different people, I went for a number of years, and then I took some time off. I didn't go for about 12 years, and I've been going back to a couple games a year the last 3 years. And been all the times I've been going, I went to a lot of UT games. I was surprised more people didn't leave at halftime.
Yeah.
And then I was surprised at how many people stayed till the very end of that game. I've been to lots of UT games that's been, 3-point ball game or, really by the end of that game, UT was in control of it. Mm-hmm. But people stayed till the very end.
Yeah.
And I know some people left, but usually you can see mass exit of people, and it didn't happen that game. It was crazy that second half.
I'm sure it being the fact they haven't won in 11 years. They wanted to feel that joy, and they wanted to see, how crazy everybody was going to be, and just the reaction to be part of it.
Right.
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 I remember watching it. I was watching it at my house, and I left to go watch it with Brad Craggett. And he's just, I come in the house like I was juggling the football. I was like, why don't you catch a ball? Let's catch a ball. And he goes, hey, take it easy, cowboy. He said, we second half team. They're going to come out and win. And I said, you sure of that? I said, you've been on the 12 ounces pretty hard today, huh? And he said, I'm telling you, we're going to win. So, and we were just going off, as it come to fruition there. And it feels good to beat Florida for sure. And, we had those two guys I was telling you about that were on a few weeks ago. And James was really dogging them last night. I said, they were all buddy. They talked crap all week that they were going to come on and bash each other. And they were like, we're buddy. We do this every year.
Yeah.
Really expected them to. It's Derek.
But that was definitely an exciting game, and I was glad I went.
Yeah. So what was the atmosphere like there?
Oh man, it was just. Like I told her, it's just nuts. I mean,
cut the tension with a knife.
Oh yeah, the first half was miserable. Everybody's fussing,
Yeah.
complaining, and then the second half. I mean, we stood the whole second half. I mean, you sat down during a TV timeout. That was it.
Yeah.
And then for a while, just like every time we turned around, we was high fiving everybody around us because they're scoring it. And it was just, and everybody just yelling, screaming. It was great.
Oh yeah.
I was hoping we get to see that the last 2 years. I was at the going game 2 years ago, the first checkerboard.
Yeah.
And I went with Brent and Brandon Grieger, who were Gator fans.
Yeah.
And we was there for a bachelor party, and the weather was considerably worse than it was. I mean, it was cold, it was windy.
Yeah.
We didn't feel good.
Yeah.
Imagine that after a bachelor party. And I sat in the very top, and it was around Gator fans. It was just miserable. It was miserable because it was what, a 10-9 game or something.
Yeah, and UT had led like 9-0 the whole day or something, and give up 10 points in the last 6 minutes. The last 2 years kind of been the same way. UT led most of the game and then lost in the last 5 or 6 minutes. So last
year I really had to watch it because I was doing the announcing for the youth football, but I had an iPad right here, listening to it.
Yeah.
So I was, and my wife came up and said, "Okay, now I know how you get when you watch ball games. Make sure that's not locked." Because I was getting pretty wild towards the end. I was like, 3 yards, Jackson County. And I was, I was not a very good commentator that day, but so I'm glad. But so that was a good feeling. But what about this past weekend? I mean, you think I mean, how do you explain that play?
Well, I'll tell you how I explained it. I was lucky to see it because when UT give up that long touchdown,
sucked the life out of everybody.
Oh yeah,
a lot of people turned their TV off.
I mean,
well, I didn't turn the TV off. But me and Cherry, we was watching it, and we both. I said, I'm done. I can't believe that.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not. And she got up too. She goes, I can't either. And so I went out and watered some flowers, checked the mail, and I'm thought, well, I've killed enough time. I'll go back in the house now, and I go back in. And of course, I guess I was so mad I didn't realize I wasn't out there that long, but still, I watered 3 flowers, checked the mail, turned the hose off.
Yeah.
Come in, and UT's got the ball on the 43, and I'm like, I'm going to watch this play.
Yeah.
And when they threw it, I mean, I just lost it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, really 2 Hail Marys back-to-back by both teams.
Well, now that play by Georgia, that's just a heck of a daggum throw. That boy's going to be a stud, I believe.
It was a great throw, and, you had kind of a busted coverage there, but, it's kind of like both guys thought the other guy was going to cover him or something. But it was a nice throw, and as a UT fan, you're like, how's the guy get that open?
Yeah.
With 10 seconds left in the game.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, it's nice to see Tennessee actually. You have a lot of pride for your state and a lot of pride for your teams, but boy, it's been hard for the last few years.
These last few years have been rough.
But then starting to beat some big name SEC teams, that's nice.
It's good to be back on the top.
Yeah.
Dobbs and Jennings will forever live in Tennessee lore. I mean,
they've cemented it with that play. Whether they ever do anything else, they'll be remembered for a long time.
Yeah.
They better not play that second half stuff this next 2 weeks.
No,
that's for sure.
For my opinion, for what it's worth, if they play a whole game like they're capable of playing, I think they can beat both those teams. But if they come out and just play a half, they possibly could do it against Texas A&M. I don't think they beat Alabama just doing a half.
Yeah. But
they should have beat them last year.
Well, yeah, they should have.
The good thing about it is they finally decided if they're going to be a one-half team, it's the second half.
Yeah. Because last year it's kind of more of a first. It was to be a first half team.
Yeah, and then fall apart.
Fall apart in the second half.
Yeah, I'd rather watch a good second half than a good first half all year long.
That's what I do every Sunday. I watch Titans for 3 hours, and they get behind 14. They just don't end the game the way the ball's in. I asked Lindsay last week. I was like, "Why do I do this to myself every Sunday for 3 hours?"
Well, that's me. I've gotten really bad. I used to be one of those fans who'd sit, and my dad was always UT. If UT got down by a field goal in the first quarter, he'd get mad and quit watching. I'm like, I don't understand why he does that. I'm watching till the end.
Yeah.
And I was always. This is what's crazy. I was one of those fans too. They could be down 14 points with 30 seconds, and I'm figuring out all the ways they can still come back and win.
Yeah.
I didn't do that this Saturday though. It wasn't no thought I was. But the Titans, I've quit watching. I'll watch them to the first. I didn't even watch none Sunday. Somebody asked me to watch any game. I was like, no, I'm tired until they start turning around and playing a little bit better. I mean, and I hate to be that way, but I mean, it's just not good football.
Well, not only that, it's not good for your stress levels.
No, it's not. And I mean, I feel like they are turning the page. I do feel like they're getting a little closer, and maybe it's not showing the results or same 1-3 as they were last year through 4 games. And they were actually closer in those games last year. They lost by 2 points.
Right.
But I feel like that general manager they've got is the real deal. I feel like he took some chances this offseason. He basically got DeMarco Murray for nothing.
I mean, that's a great move.
He's looked great, and our defense is looking better. Our secondary is still pretty questionable.
Yeah.
But the front seven is very impressive. Brian Rakpo's.
Yeah,
been
and
great.
he's coming around play.
Yeah.
And if he's just not get hurt.
Yeah, that's always been the thing with him. And it's just really the question is Marcus and is why is he not progressing? Why is he regressing? I guess, and they show the numbers today with they show through the first 16 games he's got better numbers than McNair, Locker, and Vince Young. But that's more of a inflated numbers because it's more of a passing league than it was when McNair was. Give me McNair any day of the week over any of those guys.
Yeah.
But, I mean, is it because the offensive coordinator and the head coach are stuck in 1999? And
It makes you wonder sometimes.
They're wanting to do this exotic.
Hey, but they fired their special teams coordinator today, so it's going to turn around.
They give up one punt return, and that's the scapegoat. I hope that next year. I went into the season saying, realistically, all the fans were like, well, they're a 10-win team. I'm like, if you watch this product, I know we made some trades and got some draft picks, but 6 is what I was shooting for.
When they first come, I had season tickets for a number of years,
right.
And basically now the Titans have been here for 20 years, and to me they've still never had a great wide receiver.
They're so cursed at that position.
Yeah, I mean it's just they can't get nobody to produce there, and if they go out and sign a free agent, he's washed up when they get him.
Yeah.
Every big name free agent they've ever had, he's washed up, and then if they go get a young kid, he can't put it together.
Right.
It's amazing to me.
You look at probably our most productive free agent or wide receiver in the last several years was probably Nate Washington, and he was a undrafted guy to Tifton.
Yeah.
Who was a third, fourth receiver for the Steelers, but he had a great
he had a pretty good little run with the Titans, but he still didn't set the world on fire.
No, I mean, and nobody expected him to.
No, right.
But I mean, you sign Randy Moss and barely throw to him. They've got Andre Johnson, 4 years too late,
right.
5 years too late.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. He's on the back end,
and still the guy they're throwing to. They're throwing him.
Yeah, he's the money. That was last weekend, wasn't it? They threw that touchdown pass, and they called a penalty or something, got brought back.
After he won the game 2 weekends ago.
Yeah, so, I mean, they're looking for him.
But you've spent first-round picks, second-round picks on Justin Hunter, who's the most wasted talent I've ever seen.
And he come out early, didn't he?
He come out after his junior.
He might have benefited. I mean, I know his stock was high, but he might have benefited from another year.
I think so, and I always question on this show whether after the knee injury he had against Florida, whether it was always in his mind a little bit, or he just didn't take the game. It was so easy for him that he didn't challenge himself. Then you got Dorial Green Beckham.
Yeah.
It's a waste.
Yeah.
He may go on to good things in Philadelphia, but that says something about a guy right there that they give up after 1 year.
Yeah, they got rid of him after 1 year and traded him, what was it, for an offensive lineman?
Yeah, for a backup offensive lineman.
Backup, so.
We're cursed at that. I just, I'm the passionate as you are about the Vols is kind of how I am with the Titans. And
sure.
like I said, we've had some some Titans people on here, and that's the thing. If they fired Malarkey after the year, they can't. They just realistically can't do it because they're still paying Wisenhunt.
Right.
They'd be paying Malarkey, then they'd be paying who I don't know who else. I think Josh McDaniels is probably, that's who, in my opinion, would be the next coach just because of his background with Robinson in New England.
Well, some of these, I wish I had some of the money these guys got thrown around. I mean, they'll extend these coaches, and then they turn around and fire them 6 months later after they just give them a 2-year extension. And then you got somebody like Malarkey. I mean, he's a true retread.
Yeah.
I mean, he's never had a winning record, and so sometimes I just assume to take a chance on a new guy.
I think so.
And give him some time rather than hiring a retread and saying, firing him after 3 years. Yeah,
and I thought Wisenhunt would actually be a good hire.
I did too. I was really disappointed in.
And he ruined my boy Jake Locker. Jake Locker's one of my favorite Titans ever.
Yeah,
and I still look at, if he'd have stayed healthy, he wasn't a bad football player.
No, he just stayed hurt all the time.
And that was it. And they brought in Malarkey, and the most boneheaded thing I've read is when he said, "I'm going to stick." They were asking about his style of play that he's running. He said, "I'm going to stick with the football that's worked for me since 2001." I'm like, "Dude, your record's 19-41."
Yeah.
Can we switch some things
Yeah,
up?
and you're talking about stuff that's worked for you for 15 years. Well, you haven't been successful, and lots changed in 15 years.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, the players and the flow of the game and everything.
Oh yeah,
completely
totally different.
Completely different. Well, I know you're a big music fan, and I know gonna get off the sports subject for a little bit. You didn't happen to go see Guns N' Roses when they come to town, did you?
I did.
I know
not.
you're a Guns N' Roses fan, aren't you?
I am. I thought about it. Of course, I ain't as young as I used to be.
Yeah.
I like going to concerts. It's just unfortunately, one of the drawbacks of living out in the country, it's 2-hour drive
so far
down
to
there,
get anywhere. Yeah,
I know.
and 2 hours back, and I can't remember if. And I think it was in the summer, but still, that's that factors into my decision sometimes.
Yeah.
I wanted to go. I just didn't buy it.
Yeah, well, we've talked about on this podcast. I wanted to go. My vacation started the very next day. My wife, I think, just to maybe make me miserable, would not delay. Wouldn't put our vacation off for a week.
Right.
So, and I'm sitting at a Hooters in Tampa, and Guns N' Roses comes on. And I'm like, can you just turn that off?
Yeah.
Put some bluegrass or something on. I don't want to hear Guns N' Roses. And I've got Brad sending me videos. I bought Brad's tickets, and that's the even worse thing about it. I bought their tickets, Brad and Becky's tickets, and it kept saying, like, reminder, Ticketmaster Dustin, Guns N' Roses is coming up in 2 weeks. I'm like, whatever. So I remember talking about that with you in high school quite a bit, how you're a big Guns N' Roses fan.
Yeah, and I keep my eyes on concerts, and I like to try to go to about one a year.
Yeah,
I saw you at one, I think, about 2 years ago. Best I remember, Travis Tritt in Glasgow. You were at that one.
Yeah, we went to, and actually, I've been going to. I would say we went to quite a few up there because that's an
pretty
hour away.
Yeah, it's
and,
pretty
quite a bit
convenient.
closer than
of course,
heading.
some of the older people. We went up there and saw Charlie Daniels.
Yeah.
We saw Travis Tritt up there twice.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great show.
It was, yeah.
That was one I had never seen, and I was really.
And that's another thing too. Is like one of those. It's that, especially down towards the front. That venue is a small venue, so it's pretty nice. So you can see and hear.
Yeah. Well, how do you feel about Axl fronting AC/DC now?
AC/DC fell apart in a hurry because, but no, I'm not crazy about that.
Yeah, Axl's really, as hard as he fell apart there for a little while, he's really pulled it back together in the last little bit.
Because I've heard some of the stuff he's done this summer with them, and I've heard some of the stuff he's done with AC/DC. It sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I mean,
he never was a strong back years ago. He was never a very strong live performer.
Yeah.
Back when they first become popular,
right.
There was a lot of
4-day heroin binges will do that.
Yeah, that was one of the knocks on them years ago was their studio albums sounded so much different from their live, and he took a lot of the blame for it because he didn't sound the same live as he did on the studio.
Yeah, those these little mixers right here, they sure can change some
they
stuff.
can do a lot of stuff with those things.
Yeah. Axl, I listen to some of his stuff on YouTube. He's not hitting those high notes, but he's doing pretty good.
Yeah.
He's not belting out those Axl
Right.
rants and everything.
Just weird to see him with ACDC. It's just something I don't.
Yeah. Of course, I didn't the lead get Young.
Angus.
Didn't he have to retire? Him or the brother? One just had said they had to retire here the other day.
Yeah, I think one of them had throat cancer or something, didn't they? Yeah.
I hadn't seen that. I didn't even realize.
Yeah.
that.
And of course, over the years, they haven't had a consistent drummer. You know, they'll have a drummer for 3 or 4 years and get another one.
Yeah.
So the drummer's never been a strong point for them either. But AC/DC just fell apart.
Well, we like to do a little segment now. Just kind of since we're on the music, but we kind of asked all of our guests if you had your most embarrassing song on your iPod. The
one song that's your guilty pleasure that you don't really want everybody else to know about.
I thought for a second you were going to ask me to sing. So
I will.
I mean, you
sing the song that you don't want everybody else to know you listen to. Yeah.
Probably right now it'd be Uptown Funk.
Yeah, that's so contagious, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too. You know, I'm a classic rock guy.
Yeah.
And but you know, there'll be some new songs come along, and there's some I like. You know, it's crazy. I like Pink.
Oh, I love her.
You know, and there's some other ones that I don't know their names, and I hear some songs, and but that's probably the most embarrassing one I got. Now, if you ask me to pull up my YouTube list, you probably find some more embarrassing ones.
Did you ever watch Big Bang Theory by chance?
I do.
Sheldon was trying to get into the most anxious spot he could get, and he said he had Taylor Swift playing. He said, but he turns out he really loves Taylor Swift, and I thought, that's me too, man. Sometimes she'll come on the radio and think, man, I'm not going to listen to this. And then next thing I know, I'll be bobbing along singing along to the song.
Is that right after Katy Perry?
Oh, I love some Katy Perry, dude.
Hey, everybody's got that.
I'll be
that's
listening
not
to
the
Firework.
worst answer we've heard for sure. We went on vacation with Brad and Becky last year, and that song came on like their kids really. And if we listened to it once on that 3 days, we listened to it like 30 times. And I can no longer listen to Uptown Funk. If it comes on the radio, I just I can't. But for a while, it was damn funk. I even seen Bret Michaels. When we were in Tampa this summer, I traded Guns N' Roses for Bret Michaels. He was at the Rays game after. And he even done a version of Uptown Funk.
Yeah.
So it's all over the place.
So everybody's into it.
Yeah, I think so, man.
Well, you know, I see you running a lot on the side of the road down here. Tell us a little bit about what you got going on. I know you've done some triathlons. How'd you do in your triathlons? How many have you actually done now?
I've probably done about 10.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And so whenever you're doing that, you're bike, swim, run. But how far is each one?
The majority of the ones I do, they have different classifications. The majority of the ones I do are called sprint triathlons.
Yeah.
They consist of anywhere from to be classified as a sprint triathlon, they have to consist of anywhere from a quarter mile to half mile swim, a 12 to 18 mile bike ride, and then a 5K run. And that's to be, if it's sanctioned.
Right.
Now, I have done some shorter ones, like with a 300-meter swim, a 10-mile bike ride, and a 5K run. But if they're actually sanctioned by USA Triathlon, they have to meet those minimum qualifications. So the shortest one I've done has been like a 300-meter swim, 10-mile bike ride, and a 5K run. Then I have done then the sprint distances. I've done the max on those, a half-mile swim, 18-mile bike ride, and a 5K run. And then I have done a couple of Olympic distance, which is a 1,500-meter swim, which is a little over 9/10 of a mile, a 25-mile bike ride, and a 6.2-mile run.
So pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, 10K, yeah.
So
I've done a couple
where are
of
these
those.
at? Like, where do you go to do them at?
The ones I have done at Melton Hill Dam, Endurance Sports Management. They do triathlons.
Yeah.
I've done a 3 up there. I've done 2 at the Olympic distance. I have done has been at Fall Creek Falls, and then
there's some hills up there to pull around on.
And now the bike ride is actually kind of on that main road that goes in over to 111. I guess it's the main entrance. There's a couple different ways to go in there. But the runs where you get on some of those hills.
Yeah, that'd have to be rough.
Yeah, and then I've done a couple in Montgomery State Park. Then I've done a couple of the MTSU. The short one I did was talking about the 300-meter swim, and I've done it at MTSU.
Okay.
I actually did a couple a few years ago in Florida. I actually did an ocean triathlon where I swam in the ocean and everything.
I bet that's completely different. Isn't
Oh,
it?
yeah, it's different.
That's pretty awesome.
Now, how'd you get into that?
Right, because I remember you running when we were around a lot, and you always worked out a whole lot.
Right.
But what got you into this?
I just got tired of just running.
Right.
Throw
Throw a little something extra in
That's
there.
understand. That's why I don't do it.
Yeah. Because I first started running. Then I started running 5K races and stuff because like I talked, I'm competitive.
Right.
Do I win? No, not all the time. I have won a few, not the overall race, but I've won my age group.
Yeah.
So I've won a few, but I just do that because when you go to a race, there's people in front of you, so I chase them, or I'm not going to let somebody pass me.
Right.
They push you.
Yeah.
And so I just got to the point where I want to do something besides 5K runs, and so rather than running longer distances, I decided to try a triathlon because I started biking, so I had to get in shape to swims. Of the three, getting in shape to swim was the hardest for me to get in shape for.
I bet that half-mile swim's a bear. Ain't
Oh
it?
yeah,
Yeah. I can't even swim at all, so I that's the one that scares me to death. I seen you run going down the side of the road the other day, and I thought, man, that'd be neat. He's doing these triathlons. I was thinking, well, I'm terrified of water. I could never get into these.
Yeah, it's just anything else. It takes a little practice. I've always swam, but then I hadn't swam in years, and so I told you I go up to Tompkinsville and swim in the pool. Mm-hmm. And I used to have to rest after every 20. When I first started, I was having to rest every 25 yards. I'd swim 25 yards and have to rest 30 seconds to a minute and then swim. And so I just had to build up like that.
You said your dad trains with you at the lake?
Yeah. Well, if I do because when you do go to these triathlons, you're swimming in lake, you're swimming in open water.
Right.
And so the first one I did not really practice in open water. I had just done swimming in the pool. Mm-hmm. And it's a big difference. So my dad has a fishing boat, and so the next year after I did that first one, to make myself more comfortable and not, like you said, not to be as afraid, I did go up and I do open swims in the lake. And my dad will troll along beside me in his fishing boat.
That's pretty.
Slap you with a stick, take your speed up a little bit.
Well, no, actually.
They have the Rocky music playing on the boat?
No, he just sits up there. My dad's a real patient guy.
Yeah.
He just sits on the front of about the worst thing he's done is one time we went and of course, when you swim and you come out of the water to get your breath, I would catch him out of the corner of my eye, and I was pretty sure he chewed tobacco, and I was pretty sure he was spitting right where I was at. And it just so happened Mom had went with us. Every now and then I've had an uncle to go. My dad's cousins went a couple times, and my mom went once just to ride in the boat, And so when I got out, I'm like, Dad, were you spitting tobacco juice right where I was swimming? Of course, he got this funny grin. He said, "No, I didn't do that." And my mom's like, "Now, Tommy, tell the truth. You were too."
One of the things I remember from elementary school, you talking about him chewing tobacco, that pipe of his was
I used to love to smell that pipe.
That just really, I don't even remember a lot from elementary school, but that always stands out in my mind. And I seen your parents, like I was telling you, at my wife's grandfather's 90th birthday.
Right.
And I asked him, I talked to him, and your mom, I don't know how old is your mom?
Well, she might.
That's one you better not answer.
Yeah.
I won't.
Well, okay. Well,
No, both my parents. They're 71,
and literally, your mom doesn't age.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because they had their 50th anniversary here a few weeks
That's
ago.
what I was about to say.
Or actually a couple months ago now. And I had telling how many people talk about how my mom hadn't aged none over time.
Yeah,
and
it's
everything.
crazy, man.
And then, then I also have lots of people who remember Dad in school and having that pipe. And,
I always loved that. And to this day, if I go out and smell a pipe somewhere, I still look for him.
And it did smell good. And he smoked Captain Black.
Yeah.
And he quit that, and then he took up chewing. So
They're really just so personable because, I hadn't spoken to either one of them in, years.
Yeah.
Since they retired. But they walked in and I let them eat and whatnot. And after the football game got calmed down, I said, "Well, Denton's, how are you?" I said, and we just picked right off. Said, and congratulate him on the 50th. Well, you should have stopped by. And I said, well, you know, I didn't, you know, because I was down there actually when we were first kind of talking about you coming on. We stopped at the Dairy Burger, and Peanut said, John wants to know why this radio show, you know. And I was like, well, it's not a radio show, Peanut. Well, I don't know what a podcast is, you know. And he said, and I said, well, I think we're going to try to get a hold of him. And he said you were over there fixing up the school.
Yeah.
And I missed you. I stopped over there, and Tisha wasn't trying to come out. She was in Randy Birdwell's old room. Is that where she teaches out of?
Yes, she does.
She sees me, and I go like that, and I'm going to see where you're at, you know. And I walk to the door, right, thinking she'll get up and let me in the door, and I'm standing there like an idiot for like 2 minutes. I'm like, okay, I'm the only person in here.
Yeah.
And then she don't get up, and I'm like, okay, so I could come back to Lucas. You just need to message him because I think he'd gotten your number from Peanut. I said, go ahead and message him. So Tisha sure wouldn't let me in the building.
Yeah, she can be a little stubborn like that sometimes.
But no, and I congratulate them. And like I said, they said to stop by, and they said, well, we wasn't expecting anything, but you know, our kids really wanted us to. And this day and age, nobody. I mean,
I would say 50 years is huge.
A lot of couples don't make it to 5 years.
Right.
Yeah.
I made a meme on Facebook when me and Lindsay had our 2-year anniversary. It was a guy with eyes about this big around from WrestleMania when Undertaker got beat for the first time, and it said, DK and Lindsay made it to 2 years. So for your parents to make it to 50 years, man, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's worth celebrating for sure.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I appreciate that.
And the way they're looking, man, I'm not sure they can't go another 20 or 30 years.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So talking about Peanut, my last question.
Okay.
In all seriousness, who's the better dancer between you and Peanut?
I'd probably say I'm the better dancer. He's probably more likely to dance more than I am.
I would say if you're going with the likelihood of somebody about to start dancing, I'm going to go with Peanut, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if you actually get me in the mood and the groove, I probably the
You
better
probably
dancer.
get him, yeah. That's right.
The spin move wink combination Peanut pulls off at a wedding is
now he's pretty
impressive.
good at that. Now I probably can't beat that particular move.
It's hard to beat.
Yeah,
hard to
funny.
beat. Well, we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Well, no, guys, I appreciate it. And I mean, I think it's great you're doing that or doing this show, and I appreciate you inviting me. It means a lot to me.
Well, it was a lot of fun, you know, and a lot of people don't know what we're doing. You know, we've had a lot of people really, you know, talk good about it, but a lot of people don't know what we're doing, you know. And so it's good to have you guys come on here and really, you know, and enjoy it and have a good time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've had a great time, and you know, I always enjoy seeing former students and former players, and you know, at one time you were a student and a player, but now, you know, I view lots of you guys as my friends.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's always good to see y'all. And good to talk to you. Of course. Every time I see Lucas, he about crushes my hand, shaking. You know,
I get that quite a bit. I got schooled in handshakes the other day.
Yeah.
There's a guy come down to work, and if he's not 65, I would be surprised. And he come up to me, wasn't caring a bit. You know, just nonchalantly reached over to shake my hand, and rubbed every one of my knuckles together.
Yeah.
I mean, dropped me like a bad habit, buddy.
He must have been
he was
a beast.
Yeah.
I tell you.
I saw a guy, you know, your cousin Matt. Works
Yeah.
at Tutco. There, I was in the office this morning sending a fax. He said, "I seen your boy last night." I said, "Oh yeah." He said, "Lucas, he was at a birthing class." I said, "Yeah, I tell him all the time." I said, "I hope his wife, hope that baby gets his wife's head." You know,
My wife tells me all the time she hopes that baby gets her head.
Yeah, because that'd be rough.
Yeah.
And I thought I said it quietly, just for the guys in scheduling there, and the plant manager I'm buddies with come around the corner and goes, "Man, who's you talking about over there talking about the baby with the head?" You know, and I said, "Oh, that's my buddy I do my podcast with." So, so you were at a birthing class last night.
Oh yeah, I went to birthing classes, and they broke us in right in that first 2-hour birthing class. I got to see 3 women have babies. So
wow,
oh my goodness,
live?
Oh no, not live. Obviously, it was on video, but they sure showed the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah, man, I don't see how people watch that stuff, man. I mean, I'm in the delivery room with both of mine, and they're like, "Mr. Kennedy, you can look over," and I'm good.
No, I'm good.
I'm good. Hey, I just can't. So.
I told Kara, I said, they really broke us in here. She goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, honey. I didn't know they was going to show the whole thing the first night."
Yeah,
too much. Did you do the sounds and stuff too?
No. We ain't got to the hee hee hoos yet. And whenever we're breathing, we're we just did the what to expect and what the mom's going to expect. And
Well, that's what you have to do, Dustin. After he learns that, you'll have to do an on-air demonstration of that.
Yeah, they had some music playing. There was some really interesting parts of it, but they had some music playing. I mean, about put me to sleep. But Kara said, or they said it was supposed to be calming, and I was over there, and I was calm as I could be, and I was sitting beside Kurt West, and I looked over, and he was.
That's who had the cowboy hat on.
That was the cowboy hat.
I said, I don't know anybody in real life that owns a cowboy hat.
That was Kurt West. I mean, him was sitting there. We was both bobbing and weaving, sitting in birthing class. It was fun though. It's interesting. We're getting excited. We're about 6 weeks and 4 days now. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming.
Well, once again, I appreciate it. And if you ever get desperate one of these days again, and you can't, I'll be glad to come back.
Well, after your next triathlon, you're actually not running a triathlon next. You're running a half marathon. Next.
Yeah, I'm going to do a half marathon in November.
Wears me out.
What is that? 13.1?
Yes.
Oh.
So
good luck to you, brother.
So when you've seen me out here the last few weeks running on the road, that's what I'm doing.
If I come by and you're laying down, I'll just stop, throw you some water.
That'll work. Or throw me on the back of the truck.
Drive you back to your car.
Well, good luck to you. Like I said, you're always welcome here. And just for our listeners, I do want to clarify this before we shut her down here. But we're very dependent on the Facebook link. When I click on the Facebook link, a lot of people, and I didn't realize this because I guess I'm just thinking they'll see it through Facebook. But James brought to my attention last night, a lot of people are just very dependent on the Facebook link, and they're watching strictly through YouTube. And I think people need to be reminded that you can go to our podcast app. If you have an iPhone or any Apple technology, you can go to our podcast app, download it on your podcast app, have it saved on your queue, and anytime we have, you hit subscribe. It's free to subscribe. We're nobodies, so we don't charge. And so hit the subscribe, and automatically every time a new episode comes up, it automatically comes up on your podcast app, and it's not using data. Because if you have it set to only download on Wi-Fi, you won't use any data. Because people are asking me how can they do it without using data, being on the internet with YouTube. And that's how, and I'm going to put that on our Facebook post. Just all just look for the podcast app and make sure you listen to us. And that's it. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll see y'all next week.